One of the things I love about our business is we attract young, ambitious go-getters. I don't know if you've observed yet, but the average age in our company is not 55 years old. It's not a business loaded with crusty old people just looking to settle. It's young people in their 20s, early 30s that want to build a life, design a life. Like, why not? I mean, why, you live in the United States of America, you live in Canada. Why not design and build the life that you want and be successful and become wealthy? So I get asked the questions a lot on, how do I become a millionaire? How do I go on to become successful? What are the financial habits that I should fine tune now early in my career that will serve me as I go longer through the career? Great questions and tons of great literature out there. So in my early 20s, I felt like I knew nothing when it came to money. I mean, I didn't have any money. I didn't come from a family of wealth by any means. So I just wanted to read a bunch of books. I mean, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. The list goes on. I just wanted to figure out, okay, how did rich people become rich? Even this, okay? Now, I'm not trying to make a political statement. This book was written before this guy became a politician. Trump, I remember seeing this book in the airport. I'm like, oh, come on. What kind of cheesy book did Trump write? Think Like a Billionaire is the title of this book. So I wasn't going to buy it, but I flipped through it. I was waiting for an airplane. It says, listen, in the United States, there are 587 billionaires. I can't guarantee you'll be a billionaire if you follow all the habits and characteristics of the billionaires, but at the least you'll become a millionaire. I shelled out my 20 bucks. I bought the book and here it is, right? So I just wanted to read everything I could read. Are they getting into real estate? Like, what are they doing? So really, this particular episode, I'm going to be referencing this book. I talk about this a lot on various conference calls. The Millionaire Next Door. What I love about this book, let's just start with the authors here. Like, who wrote this book? Thomas Stanley and William Danko. None of you are nodding like, oh yeah, I know those guys. I read all their books. It's like, who are these guys? They're statisticians, basically. These guys are nerds that were hired by big companies like Procter & Gamble to figure out who are the wealthy people in the United States. Where do they live? What do they do for work? What do they drive? What kind of shoes do they buy? What do they eat? And so they would hold all these seminars across the United States for people that were double-digit millionaires, okay? They only interviewed people that had a net worth of 10 million or more, and they wanted to just gather data, okay? So what are these people doing? Where do they live? And so interesting things in this book. Again, I find it, you take the data and do whatever you want with it, but there's no agenda to this book, right? Again, these guys are statisticians, guys, so you can take the information and do with it what you want. But some of the interesting things, like, okay, back to occupation, like what are some of the occupations that will produce millionaires? Well, when they did a deep dive on doctors, because a lot of people think, well, yeah, doctors are the richest people in the United States. Well, listen, the average doctor is worth a net worth zero by the age of 52. Like, what? What are you talking about? Well, listen, you're in school for a long period of time. You're going into debt, obviously, for a long period of time. And you get out of the red, you're finally in the black by the age of 52. Oh, I just thought all doctors are rich. Plus, there's all this pressure, like, oh, you're a doctor. They tend to spend more money than the average Joe, right? If you've ever played the board game Cash Flow, Kiyosaki's board game, if you get the doctor card and that's your occupation, you get lots of money coming in every month, but you're burning a ton of money as well, too. I mean, you don't see a lot of doctors driving, Volkswagens or Hyundais. I mean, they're driving Beamers and Mercedes. So there's this pressure to spend money as well, too. So interesting thing, even ancestry. I thought this was interesting. What ancestry group, right? I mean, the United States is made up of people from all around the world. What ancestry group have the highest chances of becoming millionaires? And what ancestry group has the lowest chances? Well, this is interesting. It says, what about the number of years that an average member of an ancestry group has been in America? The longer the time here, the less likely it will produce a large percentage of millionaires. The English, they've been here the longest, they have the lowest chances. Like, what? Why is this the case? Because we're a consumption-based society. In general, the longer the average member of an ancestry group has been in America, the more likely he or she will become fully socialized to our high consumption lifestyle. There is another reason first-generation Americans tend to be self-employed. Self-employment is a major positive contributor to wealth. So again, the book is just loaded with great stuff. For the rest of this episode, going to get into the 7 commonalities, 7 characteristics of the self-made millionaires in the United States. All right, so let's dive into the book. The first thing and the most obvious thing and probably the least sexy thing is they live well below their means, okay? That's the first commonality. They spend less than they earn. So, I love talking about this guy, Theo Johnson. If you get a chance to Google Theo Johnson, UPS. Guy worked at UPS, never made more than $14,000 a year. Yet when he retired, he had over $70 million of net worth. So what? So it's not like this guy made a ton, but the guy ended up, with a lot of money. Like, what are the lessons from this? Now, again, the guy just literally... he was a great saver. He'd save 20% and invest. And all those investments were compounding year after year. Warren Buffett says this. He says, my wealth is a combination of 3 things: lucky genes, living in America, and compound interest. So if you're saving, right, if you're spending less than you earn and you're saving and you're doing something with that money, put it in some account that can continue to grow. And when you get paid interest on interest, that's a great thing. But they live well below their means. Now, I remember as a kid, this used to drive me crazy. I'd watch a TV commercial and there's a car, on the commercial and it's advertised at $19,999. And it drove me nuts because I say to my dad, why don't they just round it up to $20,000? Like, why are they playing these games, with people? And so that was my big gripe, as a youngster watching TV commercials. Now, if you watch TV commercials today and they're advertising a car, what do they talk about as far as, how much that car is? They never tell you the total value of the car. They tell you what the monthly payment of the car is. I mean, so we live in this interesting world now where everything's about payments. Like, let's just make payment. If you can't afford it, no problem. Let's just make payments. And so this is straight out of the book. Why are so few people in America affluent? They believe in spending tomorrow's cash today. They're debt prone and are on earn and consume treadmills. I mean, interesting. I remember going through the field, walking past a car dealership that had a picture of a beautiful car on it, and it said, play now, pay later. I mean, I think a lot of people are just buying into that. Like, let's just spend tomorrow's cash. Let's overestimate tomorrow's earnings and spend it today. That's not a common characteristic of a self-made millionaire. So one of my favorite places to shop, I remember when I first moved here, moved to the United States, and I was introduced to Ross Dress for Less. I'm like, oh, what's that place all about? Oh, it's designer stuff. It's just the stuff that didn't quite make it to the stores. Well, what does that mean? So I remember, going there, and I remember, buying a shirt, and I come into the office on Monday. I'm like, hey guys, check out my new Ralph Lauren, dress shirt. And everybody's like, ooh, Jamie's got some swag. I'm like, well, the little horsey's on the belly. It's not quite on the pocket like it's supposed to be, but hey, I paid $5 for this. So again, just be thrifty. Don't get caught up in spending. Like, just get caught up in, I gotta save and I gotta spend less than I earn, okay? I gotta keep myself alive. I gotta keep myself going. Millionaires basically live well below their means. Straight out of the book, number 2. They allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. Time, energy, and money. Those 3 things. What are you doing with your time, your energy, and your money? So again, I'm just referencing back to my early 20s. Man, on my spare time, I would go to open houses, right? Anywhere you drive, you see real estate signs all over the place. I'd go to open houses in Beverly Hills, looking at houses that, of course, I would never buy. Eventually, I learned to park far away from the house so nobody could see the vehicle I was pulling up in, because nobody would take me seriously. But I parked far away. I'd go into the open house. I'd listen to the conversations. I'd talk to the real estate agent. I knew at some point in time I'm going to buy a bunch of real estate, which I have certainly done over the years. So I want to use my time effectively, as a youngster before I have money, to figure out what to do once I actually have it. What kind of one-on-ones are you setting up? What kind of books are you reading? Listen, you can watch Netflix, but what are you watching on Netflix? I mean, the other day I was listening to, Elon Musk's story. I mean, listen to the book or buy the book, Elon Musk. How did a guy do what he did? I mean, his net worth is somewhere I mean, for sure it's over 150 billion. It might be up to 300 billion, but it's like, what did he do and how did he handle the stress when he was basically at nothing, right? When he was one rocket away from losing it all, you know, if things didn't work out well for SpaceX. So, you know, use your time to study history. Use your time to study the financial greats. That's what the successful self-made millionaires are doing. Number 3, they believe, self-made millionaires believe that financial independence is more important than displaying high social status, okay? Now, this book was written before social media became a big thing, but I think the pressure is all too real today to display, right? You're on display high social status. So the mathematical formula that I share with my kids is FI is greater than, okay, DHSS, displaying high social status. So, you know, it's not like the self-made millionaires don't like nice stuff, right? Like, it doesn't say self-made millionaires will never buy a Rolex watch, they'll never buy the Mercedes. It doesn't say that. It just says in the world of prioritization, if you had limited resources and you had to put it in one of two things, either displaying the high social status or the financial independence, listen, the financial independence is just the greater priority. Okay, that's really what it's saying. So you just don't want to be dependent. You don't want to be financially dependent on other people. You want to be independent. You got to know how to take care of yourself. So that's number 3. So I'm going to combine 4 and 5 together because I think they're related. Number 4 is their parents, self-made millionaires, their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. And number 5 is their adult children are economically self-sufficient. There's independence. You know, some of these chapters in the book talk about the frustration of self-made millionaires that their children, even their children in their 40s and 50s, are still dependent on them. They're like, when are they going to be independent? When are they going to know how to take care of themselves? And it's like, well, you never really taught them to be independent. You never taught them to not take the economic outpatient care. So one of the things that I've admired over the years, I've seen this happen with so many people, so many kids that came from wealthy families that they cut their parents off. They told their parents, hey, listen, no more. I don't want you paying my rent anymore. It's not helping me out in the long run. It helps me out in the short term. Thank you for paying my rent, but I need to be independent. I can't rely on you. So the sooner you get that financial independence, the sooner you're setting the stage to becoming a self-made millionaire. So I'm going to bundle number 6 and number 7 together because I think these are related also. Number 6 is they are proficient in targeting market opportunities. And number 7, they choose the right occupations. Now, I'm going to share with you a social media post that I had. I was in a restaurant not so long ago, a California pizza kitchen, and I was served by a robot. Okay, so here's the post. The future has arrived. AI and robotics are popping up everywhere. This robot brought food to our table. Management tells me that they lease these machines for $1,000 a month, no upfront costs, no wages necessary, no overtime, no union, no benefits to pay. Seems like they are embracing it. Most companies are focused on using technology and automation to eliminate the need for employees. We're focused on using technology and automation to unleash and empower our people and hire hundreds more employees. So I'm bringing that up because I think number 6 and number 7 are very relevant to today because of AI. ChatGPT, I know this is a big talk of the town, but I mean, if you had to look into a crystal ball 5 years, 10 years from now, I mean, there's a lot of positions, there's a lot of industries that are going to be eliminating employees, so you want to choose right. When I was a youngster, I mean, I was considering the accounting profession, and the word that kept popping up is, outsourcing. Hey, people are going to be outsourcing that job to India, so I'm not sure if that's the business that you want to be in. And sure enough, you look at the big companies in the accounting world, like sure, they'll have a small base of accountants here in the United States, and then most of the employees are in India, they're in other countries. So you really got to choose the right occupation. I'm having lots of conversation with my young kids about the kinds of career paths that they could get into, and I'm very sensitive to like, geez, I don't want to give my kids the wrong advice. Which careers are going to be obsolete due to AI? I mean, it's going to be a real thing. I Googled highest paid occupations in the United States. I mean, why not? At the top of the list, I'm not going to even reference the article. I just took a bunch of these articles. They're all saying CEOs and entrepreneurs at the top of the list. And then they also say things like cardiologists and other medical professions, certainly in the top 10. And I think, again, of the medical, and I'm bringing this up again a second time, but just a personal story. I met a guy in the Bahamas one time on this yacht. The guy had this beautiful yacht in the Bahamas. Hey, what do you do? He's one of 3 heart surgeons on the planet that can perform this particular kind of surgery. The guy was making a ton of money, something like $20,000 a day. He spent 20 years in college, okay? 20 years. At minimum, a cardiologist has to be in college for 10 years. So they deserve that kind of dough. If the average cardiologist makes $350,000 a year, of course they deserve it because they're putting themselves in school for so long. So again, you just got to choose the right occupation. Like, what are the things to do? And this book is just loaded with things like, listen, get into sales, learn how to create income for yourself. I mean, that is certainly a common thread you'll read in all these books on how to really be wealthy is, hey, be independent, get paid what you deserve based on your performance, not based on how much time you're clocking in. So that's really the referencing from this book that I want to share with you guys today. It's a great read. Again, it's really nerdy. And if you find that stuff appealing, pick up the book, buy it. So hope you guys enjoyed.